Hi, welcome to the second brief lecture on Chapter 1. We're going to review the 4 types of poetry covered in this chapter: the lyric, narrative, dramatic, and didactic poem. The lyric poem is a short poem expressing the thoughts and feelings of a single speaker. Often written in the first person, which you'll recognize through the pronoun I, it traditionally has a song-like immediacy and emotional force. In fact, we've just considered an excellent example of the lyric in the last lecture, Yeats's poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree. That poem is clearly conveying the thoughts and feelings of the single speaker. It uses the first-person pronoun I and definitely has emotional force. Remember, though, not all lyrics use the first-person pronoun I, nor do they convey the speaker's feelings as Yeats does. Consider the example in our textbook by American poet Adrienne Rich, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. In this poem, we don't have the first-person pronoun, nor do we have the speaker's feelings conveyed. Instead, we come to understand the suffering of Aunt Jennifer that, as Rich points out to us in her comments at the end of the chapter, is created by the opposition of her imagination, that's represented by her creative work in the tapestry, and her lifestyle, quote, ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. Her imaginative life and her married life are in conflict. The remaining 3 forms are fairly easy to recognize. The narrative poem tells a story. The 2 common forms are ballads and epics, but any poem that's giving you a narrative, that's giving you a story, can be defined as a narrative poem. A good example in this chapter is Out Out by American poet Robert Frost. If we were going to summarize this poem, we might say something like, a boy using a buzzsaw to cut wood accidentally cuts off his hand and dies from the injury. That story has a clear beginning, middle, and end, and is a narrative poem. Dramatic poetry usually comes in the form of dramatic monologue, and the key difference here is that the speaker is actually a character. If it's a dramatic monologue, that character is usually speaking to a second character who remains silent. The example by English poet Robert Browning is probably one of the most famous examples of dramatic monologue. So think about My Last Duchess and how the Duke in that poem is a character, and he's speaking to another silent character, and he's describing his late wife as they look on her portrait. And what we as readers begin to realize is that the Duke is giving away more about his own character than about his wife's. And we come to realize by the end that he was a jealous, possessive husband who viewed his wife much as he viewed his other collectible works of art. The final type of poetry in the chapter is the didactic poem, and this is a form that is designed to teach us a lesson or impart a body of knowledge. Now I want to make a point of clarification. We can learn things from all kinds of poems, many different types of poetry. And Frost actually said, a poem begins in delight and ends in wisdom. There can be something to be learned from poems. If we think back to Out Out again, our example of a narrative poem, we come to learn that it can be dangerous and even fatal to have children perform adult labors. The difference is that in a didactic poem, that message would be stated explicitly. It wouldn't be something that we come to realize. It would be something we're told. Now that you've read the chapter, taken the vocabulary quiz, and listened to the 2 short lectures, you're ready to participate in this week's forum.